Welcome back to the Healthy Lifestyle Show, where we bring in experts to share their healthy lifestyle journey, along with their tips, tricks, and techniques. I am your host, Bonnie, and today on the show, guest Miles Kroeker shares about Acro Yoga and incorporating balance, trust, and community into your daily practice. Hey, Miles, it's so great to have you on the Healthy Lifestyle Show today.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yay, I was looking so forward to our discussion today. And a little insider for our listeners, I actually met Miles a couple months ago at Sangha, the Festival of Medicine in Calgary. And since then, I have been attending his weekly acro classes every Wednesday at Riley Park. So thank you for sharing that space with all of us who've joined us there. And before we jump into the interview, or shall I say fly into this topic today about Acro Yoga, I would love to hear about your healthy lifestyle journey and the different avenues you've explored to bring you to this moment.
Oh, well, that's quite the journey, I guess. It's kind of hard to summarize it, I guess, but I'll give you a brief and a quick timeline. Yeah, just from a kid, I was always really into sports. I just played, basically, I grew up in a very, very small country town, so I think my junior high maybe consisted of like 40 or 50 people from grade 6 through grade 9, so like
Wow.
everybody had to play all the sports to make sure that they ran, and like yeah, it was good. It was like a really close-knit kind of community feel, and everybody was all on the same teams, and like I found it really helped promote like a good chemistry and kind of bonding within that.
Mm-hmm.
And just like for my older brother and other things, I guess I started to develop a little bit of a competitive nature within that. But it wasn't really until university in my adult life that I got into other modalities than just like the classic sports of basketball, volleyball, and badminton and track and that. So that's when I first was introduced to yoga, kind of started diving and dipping my toes into other types of fitness and healthy lifestyle choices, I guess. But yeah, then basically my entire adult life, I've just kind of played around with different things, and I went on to be a chef to begin with, but then when I was looking for a little bit of a change of career paths, I got into personal training. And then while I was doing that, I just tried everything under the sun, took courses in yoga, took courses in Olympic lifting, gymnastics, acro yoga. I went to China and trained martial arts, and just, yeah, I like to get a kind of a holistic view of everything. So that I can kind of relate it to my clients as well as just to myself, noticing the congruencies and also things that are just different in the way that different cultures and different people approach kind of the same end product, I guess.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's great to experiment with so many different things to find out what you're passionate about. That's awesome. So now that you've kind of delved deeper into acro yoga, can you explain to us what acro yoga is and how it maybe originated, or yeah?
Yeah, I think there's like different schools of thought in that. And it's like, it's hard to really even start to label any of these new movement things that are coming out or new modalities of stuff, because really, if you look back in history, for like thousands of years before acro yoga was coined, something like swamis were doing that with younger individuals and people that just like weren't really finding a focus within the yoga practice, more partner style yoga based stuff. Even acrobats back in like the 30s and 40s were doing all kinds of this sort of acro yoga type thing. But the teachers, to give it a little bit more of a recent spin, the teachers that I went and trained under in Montreal, Eugene and Jesse, I really liked listening to their story because Eugene was a black man from Africa that was really into like hip hop style dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And he met Jesse, who was a contemporary ballet style dancer and a white woman. And at the time, even just like a black man with a white woman was kind of a little bit looked down upon.
Right.
And then they started meshing their styles of dance as well, which was kind of even more of an outrage.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so it's kind of neat to see just like, and that's kind of where they started to build that partner work and partner flow that you see in acro.
Yeah.
And as they got older, they made a shift into finding a yoga practice through Ashtanga, actually. And then kind of the collaboration and thought process of their connection together as a couple with the ballet and the hip hop and the Ashtanga yoga kind of created one of the branches, I guess you could say, of what you now see as acro yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's hard to put a exact date or whatever when it originated. It's actually funny now that I'm thinking about it. Back to my childhood, I remember my dad flying me up on his feet, and he has no idea what acro yoga is. It's kind of funny. But yeah, what are some of the benefits of like yoga and acrobatics combined? Is there different benefits compared to just like normal yoga?
Well, I think when you're looking at it as far as like the partner aspect goes, it's just getting you in tune with how other people relate to a very similar puzzle and like movement problem that we're all kind of dealing with. It allows you to kind of gain a new perspective, I guess, and be more outwardly aware of everything else around you rather than just being very invested just kind of in your own self.
Mm-hmm.
I find both practices actually like it's great and people understand the benefits of like working with other people, but I find even in acro yoga then people get locked into that practice because they're so used to working with somebody else to gain that motivation, to gain that kind of trust, to gain that like flow. And then some of those individuals actually get a little bit impeded with their own personal practice because they kind of become dependent upon it. So it's good to have both qualities. And I wouldn't say that, one is better than the other, but yeah, the acro definitely provides a different level of connection and new perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's quite a lot more to consider, I guess, when you're balancing upon somebody. And I believe trust would be a huge factor in acro yoga, right?
Yeah, for sure. Trust and just like, and even like your own sense of body awareness and your own level of control and focus and compassion. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of those things about any sort of developing like a decent relationship have to be present in acro to have a good solid flow and congruency of movement.
Mm-hmm. Which is mind awareness is such a big thing in yoga, with movement and just being aware of how your body moves. So that's very similar in acro yoga, I guess. So like what would somebody expect if they've never gone to acro yoga before?
Well, again, it's just like there's so many different styles of it now. I guess like it would be hard to say. It completely depends on the teacher, the type of people that are in the class. I would say the biggest thing that you can expect with an acro yoga class is just to like expect something completely different than what you think you'd want to expect.
Mm-hmm.
Because just depending on who's in the class, who's teaching, the space that we're in, what the concepts are, like it's going to really throw something different at you and just make you kind of explore things a little bit outside of your box and bubble.
Mm-hmm. So come with an open mind and a playful heart, right? So what are some of the different roles in acro yoga? Because I know there's partner yoga, right? So can you explain the basing and flying?
Yeah, I would say that if you took it to kind of just like the most basic forms of it, you can kind of see three main roles. Uh, the one is the base,
Mm-hmm.
which is the person on the bottom, usually doing most of the support of the second person who is the flyer. But often those roles can switch from down to up and move around. But when we're first starting, usually there's a very defined person on the bottom as the base and the person as the flyer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third position that's like almost the most vital is the spotter.
Mm.
And the spotter, I think, is often not given enough credit or even not integrated into fully enough, because they're just as much a part of the flow and what's going on, and they have to be just as in tune with everything that's happening to make sure that we are getting that congruent flow and that everybody is staying in a connected manner and being safe about it.
Mm-hmm. That is important. Safety first, right? So with the having the base and flying, can anyone do acro yoga? Like, I believe some people would feel less inclined to go, but maybe because they feel like they couldn't fly if they weigh too much, or they're not flexible. Or is there any reasons why somebody couldn't do acro yoga?
Well, I think it's just like with any sort of practice, whether it's yoga, it's acro yoga, weightlifting, any sort of like practice that we do for our lifestyle. It's just ensuring that we cater it towards where you're at in your current lifestyle and your current practice.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody that is a little bit heavier, just ensuring that they are aware of this, and that we're working with people within their capabilities as well, if they wanted to base this person as a flyer or if they wanted to be a base. And I think just being open and honest about where the difficulties will lie and what benefits they'll actually have from these sorts of things is just kind of the best way to approach anything like that.
Yeah. And once you try it out for yourself, then you have the awareness of how your body feels and what works for you and how the practice can evolve, because yoga is a practice, right?
Yeah, it's always a constant journey. There is no start, there is no end. It's just is.
Mm-hmm. It just is. I like that. So that acro yoga is, because it is like a couple things. I feel like it has created such a big community and like a new type of community in acro.
Actually, like I know where you're going at with this, and it is kind of interesting. Like of all the groups that I've been in, like whether it's been like group volleyball or any other sort of sport that people get together and collaborate with, it seems like acro people are just like very open to meet and explore these sorts of play and movement with anybody in the global community.
Mm-hmm.
And you even see like different things on Facebook. There's the one group that's called Flying to Fly, where it's primarily based to have people connect that are in airports around the world that are waiting for planes to get together and just like have some acro play.
That's fun.
Yeah, and it's just like it's incredible how strangers will just like meet and connect with each other with that as kind of like the medium or the tool to explore and develop that connection.
Yeah. And I feel like connection is so important. And with acro yoga, maybe comparing it just to simple yoga and how having the connection with another person and like touching each other. And a lot of sports, you don't really kind of like touch and balance on each other. So it almost creates that deeper connection. So it makes it easier, or, you know, people have more trust within each other in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would still say with any sort of thing, like, I feel like that's also something that often gets tossed to the wayside, especially with how acro yoga has hit social media and other platforms, and like everybody's seeing these big cool moves and like what looks like fun, awesome shapes and everything. And then I feel like there is also a loss of focus on what made the practice so great. Even just like with the yoga practice, it's the same sort of thing. It was meant to connect with our bodies and the world around us and be more aware and just be more present. But then a lot of the times, the world we live in, there's way more focus just on the asana or the external practice.
Yeah, almost on like achieving the pose and being like, okay, next pose, please, and not like feeling into it and the full connection in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is your like favorite thing or your highlight of acro yoga? Like, why do you love it so much and feel so connected with this practice and teaching it with others?
I think it's just, the way the community is, and just basically I like it too because of the platform that I have for my own approach to fitness and to this sort of like health and wellness approach that I'm taking. I can basically do anything underneath the heading of acro yoga. Just like I can make up any sort of movement and flow together with people, and it's such a great platform to express and teach and show any sort of conceptual idea that I have or want to share, because it's just, the possibilities are kind of like endless within that realm.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities to continue the growth of yoga and build the community even bigger, which brings me to you're hosting acro yoga festival this month. Can you touch maybe a bit about upon that?
Yeah, so myself and Cedar Lynn, it's kind of an interesting story actually. We were just 2 years ago, like this is the second annual, but so we did our first annual last year at the end of August, but the year before that we kind of had an unofficial one. A member of that, we were a part of the Calgary community back in the day, he had the idea of starting this kind of summer festival thing, and I think just not enough focus and commitment was put towards it at that time, and it was kind of falling apart. And Cedar actually was like, well, let's make this happen, like regardless of how much it kind of like dwindled into nothing. And we just hosted it at a small space, like yoga studio gym in Canmore, and there was probably about like 20 people that came out, and we all just like shared teaching and playing for a 2-day period. And after that was all done, Cedar and I decided that we should maybe make it a reality. So I thought a nice spot for it would be in between kind of the Calgary and Vancouver communities, just really trying to bring the whole Western Canada group together. So we chose Enderby. It's a nice place just to get away from it all, and it's a great area then for you to actually connect with these people. It's like everybody has to come out, and like you're there once you're there. So, and we set it up for 5 days, so like you can actually get a good amount of time to spend getting to know everybody. We limit it to 100 tickets, so that way you actually do get to meet all the teachers, you get to talk to them personally, you basically camp right next to them. Everybody's on location, so it just really builds that connection, and that's kind of why we called it Acro Yoga Unity Festival as well.
Wow. Yeah, I am looking forward to it. I got my ticket, so I will be joining the festivities in a couple of weekends. I'm excited,
Yeah.
and I do value the how you are creating the community because it's very intentional when you can actually spend time with the teachers on a more intimate level and connect with even just the other festival goers as well, because when there are festivals that are over 1,000 people or so, it's just sometimes nonsense going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I also wanted to ask you, what, like, because you do personal training as well, how is yoga different from stretching or other kinds of fitness in a way?
Just yoga or acro yoga
Or acro, like when you're teaching somebody, like how is your mindset different from when you're teaching like a acro class to like a personal trainer teaching, I
well,
guess?
it all kind of depends on like the group size as well. But when I go into an acro yoga class, like the main point is for the people to work together and kind of connect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I'm in a personal training session, I guess I'm a lot more like in acro yoga is usually taught more on a larger scale. I do some private lessons,
Mm-hmm.
but when I get to the scale of doing private lessons, I really ingrain more into what this person is working towards, I guess, and like how they think about the world around them and like where they're headed and like how giving them the tools to connect with the world around them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, at the end of the day, every person I train or every class that I do is very individualistic to the place that I am currently and where my client or the people in the class currently are. I try when I was younger and kind of first getting into this career, I was way more focused on just like setting up plans and having things ready to go and like making sure that I had it all detailed.
Mm-hmm.
I do very basic kind of soft conceptual outlines of things these days because it's more about connecting with the people and the person that's in front of me first and foremost and seeing where they're at this moment to be able to provide and be a kind of a conduit of allowing them to move forward from the space that we currently are in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so important. And like you said, giving the people the tools. So in a way, teaching the man to fish, or so that they can do their own in further on in the road. I think that's really so people feel comfortable even practicing acro yoga at the park. Just not in a group setting or whatnot. I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. So Miles, today we we also would love if you could share with our listeners if you have any healthy lifestyle challenge that they can start implementing into their day so they can live like a healthier lifestyle starting today or tomorrow or whenever they listen to this podcast.
Yeah, man, it's just like it's funny when you told me about it before and you said it at the beginning, and it's just like my mind, like there's so many different aspects of little challenges that I could give to people. And I would say, I guess the challenge that I'm gonna pose is to actually, yeah, challenge yourself by maybe taking time to think of an aspect of that's considered like a healthy lifestyle choice or that's considered a way of training or doing something that isn't necessarily doesn't necessarily mesh with your ideals. So let's say you're really into yoga and you think that going to the gym and strength training or powerlifting is not really your thing,
Mm-hmm.
or vice versa. Yeah, my challenge is to get out there and try to do one of these other modalities that you don't really understand or mesh with, and develop an understanding, or just like an appreciation for the different styles of practice and the different ways that people approach things, because it's going to allow you to, I think, appreciate your own practice and where you're at a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great way to try something new that you haven't done or whatnot. I mean, when I first started going to acro yoga, like even going by yourself is kind of like, well, do I need a partner? Right? It's like always like, I don't know, but just try it and you'll figure out if you like it, if it's for you, or try something new. But the important thing is to get moving and
get the ball rolling.
Yeah, for your health. Awesome. Well, Miles, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the Healthy Lifestyle Show. For our listeners, where can they go to get more information about the Acro Yoga Unity Festival, or any other information that you want to share with them?
Well, ayunityfest.com is a place you can go. That's the website for it. And then I would say the other social media hubs for Acro Yoga like Acro Yoga Calgary on Facebook. Even just myself, Miles Kroeker, Miles Kroeker for Facebook. If you find me on there, personal message me, I can fill you in and add you to groups and invite you to all the classes and other things going on.
Yeah, and we can start jamming in the park or in the studio or wherever. Awesome. Thank you so much, Miles, for coming on and covering such an incredible topic today. I had lots of fun.
All right. Thanks for having me, Bonnie.
Thanks for listening to the Healthy Lifestyle Show. Remember to check out healthylifestylemeals.com to plan all your healthy and balanced meals. In less than 15 minutes, there are over 5,000 different meal plans that you can customize to your specific diets. And as always, be well, stay healthy, and be happy. Listeners should know this podcast is for informational purposes only and assumes no responsibility for how this material is used. While using any information shared here, please consult with your healthcare provider.